Okay, here's the next installment for our music theory. When I learned how to do this, chord formulas, 3-part harmony and 4-part harmony, things really started to open up for me as a musician. I was taught at an early age how to play guitar, but when we are learning how to play guitar, a lot of times we're just being shown, put your first finger here, put your second finger here, third finger here, and then strum these strings, and you don't really understand why they line up the way they do. A lot of pianists that I meet over the years, they tend to have a little bit more of a theoretical background, and that's probably based on the fact that they're looking at the keyboard from left to right, and there's just a little bit more some symmetry in there. So anyway, what we're going to do here, just as a reference, this was a few lessons ago. These are just the major scale spellings that we had put together from the sharp side right here. And I'm using that as a frame of reference just to talk about this. We're going to do this all in an upcoming lesson, but I want to talk about these 3-part harmony, 4-part harmony. So there's 4 different kinds of 3-part harmony chords. You have a major chord, a minor chord, a diminished chord, and an augmented chord. The diminished chord is sometimes you have a little, what looks like a degree sign, and sometimes you'll see the plus sign for the augmented chord. Okay, so for each one of these 4 different chords right here with 3-part harmony, what we're doing is we're taking the degrees of the major scales, any major scale that we're talking about, and to create the major chord of that scale, we're going to take the root note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note. So what I mean by that is, if let's say you're looking at this C major scale right here, to create a C major chord, you're going to take the 1st note, that's the root note, you're going to skip the 2nd one, then you're going to take the 3rd note, you're going to skip this 4th one, you're going to take the 5th note. So it's the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. And what's neat about this is that every chord that's part of this 3-part harmony will use a version of the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. The minor chord is going to be the root, a flat 3rd, and a 5th. The diminished chord is going to be a root, a flat 3rd, and a flat 5. And if you don't know what the flat 3rd means, that would mean that if we were back here on our C example, we would take this chord right here, that's still the same root note. When we get to the 3rd, we would actually put a little flat sign in front of that, meaning that it's a C, an E flat, and a G. Major is C, E, G. Minor is going to be C, E flat, G. And when we get to this diminished one, it would be C, E flat, G flat. We're going to do all of that in another lesson. I just wanted to explain that if it's confusing. And then the augmented chord here is going to be the root note, a 3rd note, and then the sharp 5 note. Okay, so those are the 4 different 3-part harmony chords that are available. We are now going to talk about the 4-part harmony chords. So you have a major 7, you have a dominant 7th, you have a minor 7, you have a minor 7 flat 5, and you have a diminished 7th. And just like we did over here where we have specific degrees of the scale, the thing that's going to change on this one is that we're now going to include this column over here, which is the 7th degree of the major scales. So the major 7, which I'm going to write here in a second, is going to be the root, the 3rd, the 5th, and then the 7th. And you're going to see how these get all manipulated. There's just basically a slight change to each one of them as you go through the list. So a major 7, the formula for that is root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. The 7th chord, which is also referred to as a dominant 7th, is a root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7. A minor 7 is a root, flat 3rd, 5, flat 7. A minor 7 flat 5 is actually its name, so it's this chord right here, but when we get to this 5 right here, we're going to put a flat sign in front of that one. Root, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7. And then the diminished 7th is actually a root, flat 3, flat 5, and a double flat 7. You can't call that the 6th. It's still the 7th degree of the scale, but it's going to be, flattened 2 times. And we're going to do that in an upcoming lesson. All right, thanks a lot.